Continuing where we left off, I'm going to be painting in some distant mountains. So what you do is, for the distant mountains in the far back, you take the sky color and make it slightly darker with some black. You want it just slightly darker than the sky itself. So just some blue and some black. And you could really put it anywhere. When you do the mountains, you want to kind of make it kind of random. And what I mean is, you don't want to make like just triangles. You just want to focus on like the edge of the mountain, not so much the beneath the edge, just that outline there, and you just fill it up. And because of the blue that's present in the paint with the gray, it blends in with the atmosphere and gives it that atmospheric depth. Now I do the same thing. Since it's getting closer, it gets darker and less of that blue color. And so it's even more grayed down and darker. But there's still blue present, just less of it. And just making these mountain formations. And you can see the lighter mountains that we painted earlier get pushed farther back in the background just because there's less atmosphere between you and those mountains in the background, so there's less of that blue color in the paint, so you get something like that. You just have less of the sky color as it comes towards the foreground, and also the mountains are also larger too. So you could go above the original height of the mountains in the back. Now I'm going to paint the distant grass. This is going to have some blue in it too, mostly blue and a little bit of yellow and a little bit of black, just a tad. Just because you don't want it super vibrant. You want it to kind of have a little bit of desaturation to it. And start putting it down. Don't have to worry about the details of the grass because it's so far away. And try to blend it out just a little bit where it meets the mountain. Making some kind of slopes, kind of going with the shape of the mountain. So you get something like that. Now we're going even farther into the foreground, which means there's going to be even less of the atmosphere effect, so less blue essentially. So I put in some more yellows, and you can see kind of how it creates that transition of the atmosphere effect. Now, just like before, we're going to be making it slightly darker and even less blue. So going just the grass green now, just some blue, mostly yellow. Want it to be on the warm side, and actually it's a little bit brighter than before, but that's not that big of a deal. And just want to make sure it's warmer. It has more of just its natural colors now. There's no atmosphere effect, so there's like no blue in it. You get that nice transition. Now I'm going to go even darker. So it just gets darker and darker as you go more and more to the foreground. It gives it that the depth look, like so. I think it turned out pretty good, and that would be me. And decided I was going to paint some distant trees. Because they're going to be in the distance, they're going to have a lot of the atmosphere color, so there's going to be quite a bit of blue. It takes me a little bit to get the color just right. I had some white just so I could see the actual color. So I want it to be a blue-green, but more on the blue side than on the yellow side. And then I'm going to desaturate it quite a bit using black, like so. But that's darkened it quite a bit, so I ended up lightening it up again. Just took a little bit just to kind of get the hang of it, but that's about right. Just add a little more blue, a little bit. Just wanted to bring the color back up because it grayed down too much. But it's very blue and slightly darker than the grass in the distance in the area that I'm painting over. And since that area has a lot of blue in it, and the trees have a lot of blue in it as well, they harmonize together really well, and it tends to blend in quite a bit. Like so. And because it's so far away, there's not really any detail. They're just kind of blotches of suggestions of trees. So I just kind of blotch them in, leave empty spaces where grass is, and just dot them in like so. Just kind of doing it along the foothills of the mountain, just kind of visualizing what it would look like. Then, just like before, it gets warmer and darker. Warmer meaning that there's more yellow in it now and less of the sky color, but there's still some sky color in it, just less of it. And this is slightly darker, and the trees are going to be a little bit bigger this time. Now we're going to be painting the trees up close and personal, close to the foreground, so they're going to be very dark and no atmosphere color, so a lot less blue. So it's going to be warm. It's going to lean on the yellow side and add some black. So a little bit of blue, a lot of yellow, and some black. And I just kind of dab it in. I'm making the leaves right now. And I do kind of this dabbing motion. You want to leave like negative spaces to kind of imply like those leaves, and you could kind of see through different parts of the tree and stuff like that. You don't want to just blob it on. You could kind of put it in random. You see how there's like negative spaces, how I just kind of stipple it on there. I think I just made that word up, but it also gets whiter at the base. That's also really important. It could be pretty random, but you always want it to have some form. It's usually smaller on top and wider at the base. Decided to put in another tree. Put two little friendly trees together. And I'm going to put in some blue. I'm also going to lighten it up for the leaves. And this is going to be leaves that are catching the light from the sky. So that's going to alter the color. So it's going to be a bluish green again. And it's a little bit lighter than the color that we had. And I just kind of stipple it on. You want to paint the parts of the leaves that are facing directly up. So it's just like the tops of the leaves are getting the skylight. So there'll be a lot less leaves being illuminated by the sky at the base than there is at the top. I just kind of just tap it in, you know. You don't want to just like do big strokes. You want to leave those dark areas as well, because that's what gives it that dimension, like so. Then I'm going to add some sunlight. So it's going to bring it back to yellow. Kind of a warm green, so yellowish green. And I'm going to do the same thing. The sun's going to be hitting the left side of the tree. So I'll be emphasizing the left side and leaving the right side alone. Leave the right side on the shadow. And so I'm just kind of putting in those lighter areas. Like so. Again, you want the base to be in base of the tree, more in shadow than on the tops. Now I'm going to be doing the highlights of the leaves. So this is going to be the brightest part. It's going to be very bright yellow green, like so. A little bit of black just to desaturate it. And yeah, that's about the color you want. And since it's going to be on the left side, the sun's coming from the left side, you're going to be emphasizing the left side of the tree with the highlights. And you still want to keep those darks. You don't just want to fill the whole thing out with the light color. You want to still leave dark areas so that you get that nice contrast of lights and darks. That gives it that form, like there's some leaves and shadow and stuff. And also just always keep in mind it's less of the highlights near the base. And just emphasize the areas that is on the left side, like so. You just always want to consider the light source. Now I'm going to be doing the tree trunk. So I'm going to add some red to desaturate the greens. and then add some more black and make it just really dark. It's not quite pure black, but it's pretty close. This makes kind of a grayish brown color, like so. Then we're gonna put in the tree trunk, and I'm not gonna draw a straight line. I'm just gonna draw like a broken line, so that the leaves kind of show through, and imply that there's like leaves in front of it, like so. Do the same thing on the other side of the leaves, or of the tree, left side. Just kind of dabbing it on there. I'm not going to draw a straight line, just kind of where the, want it to look like there's just parts of the tree trunk peeking through the leaves. Then I'm going to do the highlight of the tree trunk where I think the sunlight will hit it. It could be kind of random, but it's only going to be on the left side though. Like so. I'm liking how it turned out so far. What do you think? Hope you guys like it. Hope it helps. And what the hell am I doing now? This is an old video I'm voiced over, so I can't remember what I'm doing here. Oh, that's right. I'm just putting in the shadow of the grass. The tree's casting the shadow, so put that in. There we go.